Good evening and welcome to Lisa Ann Can. I'm Lisa Ann Spencer. Thank you for stopping by my channel. This evening for supper I'm going to be preparing sub sandwiches. It's going to be kind of a steak and Swiss sort of thing. So I've assembled most of my ingredients and I'm going to get busy chopping and prepping. First thing I'll start with is I have these 3 colored bell peppers. I'll slice those into strips first. Got some fresh portobello mushrooms and a nice big Vidalia onion that I'm going to cut in half and then into strips. I've got a pound of shaved London Broil. Over there on the counter, my sub bread is thawing out, which I'll butter it and toast it. So I'm going to get started. Stay tuned and I'll show you how I put this together. The way I do my mushrooms is I just cut the stems even and slice them. All right, now that I've got the slicing and dicing done, I'm going to take a head of iceberg lettuce, at least part of it, and slice that up real fine. The crispy texture of the iceberg lettuce goes really well with these sandwiches. I have lots of homegrown leaf lettuce out in my garden, but the soft texture is just not what I'm looking for with these sandwiches. Next, I'm going to make a plate of a variety of sliced cheeses for everyone to choose their favorite. My husband loves Swiss, and Swiss is really perfect with this sandwich. Most of the family, though, prefers sharp cheddar. I could cut it into the pretty triangles, you know, like Subway, but I'm not feeling it. And pepper jack is my favorite. Put my packs back in the refrigerator so that I can put any unused cheese back in the packs. Now that the buns are thawed out, I'm going to open those up and butter most of them. I'll leave at least 2 unbuttered for those in my family who do not like to eat butter. Weird. Butter makes everything better. You know, there's a saying about being fat and happy. There's a Bible verse. It's one of my favorites. That's why I remember it. It's in Psalm 92. Talks about being fat and flourishing even in your old age. I know that that's from the law. Yes, Psalms is a part of the law. But we can make application, though not doctrinally, to our lives today. So I will read that scripture to you in a little while when I have time. All right, set these aside. So basically what I am going to do is make an onion pepper mushroom gravy. I have 2 pans out because I have children that do not like mushrooms. So I'm going to kind of figure out how I'll do that. Probably cook all the onion and pepper in one skillet, using olive oil, by the way. And once that's done, scoop out a bunch, put it in the smaller pan, add the mushrooms in, and proceed from there. We'll see how that goes. So see how neat and tidy everything is? Like between the edits you might notice that everything disappears. I am a clean as you go sort of girl. So how about you? What kind of girl are you? Are you a let it pile up high and clutter doesn't bother you? Or do you feel like in order to be creative and productive you need a clean space? Therefore you got to keep those dishes washed. Let me know. So I am going to start with a 1/4 cup of oil in the big pan. Turn that on high. Give it a few minutes to get hot. Right, I'm going to dump the onions and peppers in. Good to have an apron on when you're doing this. The oil does pop everywhere. So meanwhile, while this is cooking, I'm going to put about a tablespoon of oil in this smaller pan. Turn it on high. Also, I'm going to throw some salt and pepper in here. To this tablespoon of oil, I'm adding a tablespoon of flour, some salt, and pepper. I decided that I'm going to go ahead and just make this gravy first. It'll be easier. I need a little bit more flour, maybe a teaspoon more. So the flour is getting brown over here. Go ahead and add in about a cup of the chicken broth. Maybe not quite a cup. I'm going to turn that off for now. Onions are just starting to caramelize. Need a few more minutes. Alright, those peppers and onions are caramelized. So I'm going to take about 1/3 of them from the pan and put into the smaller pan that has the gravy in it. Turn the heat off for a minute. Now I'm going to add the mushrooms into this one. And a little bit more oil. Heat back on. I'm going to cover them for about 5 minutes. Let those mushrooms steam. Looking yummy. So now I'm going to remove these from the pan. 1/4 cup of olive oil. It's a good thing olive oil is good for you. High heat. All right, now that the oil is hot, 1/4 cup of flour. And yes, it's high carb, but as far as proportions go, it's a very small amount of flour per person. So I don't worry about it. I pass on the bun and just eat my pepper steak over a bed of lettuce. I'm going to stir this till it's thickened and kind of starts to brown. Looks like it might need just a little more flour. Got a teaspoon, and add some broth, a little bit at a time. heat down. And I'm just doing this by consistency. I don't want it watery and runny. And I don't want it so thick and congealed. So it's kind of an art to gravy making. And it looks good right now. I like to keep a little broth on hand just in case it gets too thick. All right, so I did turn it off. No, I turned it on low. I'm going to turn it completely off. I'm going to add the peppers, onions, and mushrooms back in. Okay, that's really nice looking. Okay, so I have a big pan with mushrooms and a little pan without mushrooms. It was kind of double work, but I don't mind doing that for my family. When I go to a restaurant, I leave out the things that I don't like either. So I've tried to help them along the way to always try new things and try it multiple times. But as they mature, you know, and they're older and they say they don't like a thing, usually they really don't like it. I'm okay with that. All right, so the next step is I've dumped out my London Broil on a plate. I'm going to kind of loosen it up a little bit. So this London Broil is a Boar's Head brand that Kroger carries. It's delicious. It was on sale this week, which is why I'm making this tonight. It's usually about $13 to $14 a pound. It was just over 10. I will issue a word of caution. I bought this at Walmart. They sell, I don't think it's Boar's Head, but it was $9 a pound, and I thought, hey, I'll buy that. And it tasted so bad that people didn't want to eat it. Just because it says London Broil does not mean that it's, you know, the genuine stuff. If you've not tried it, buy a small pack. Let your family try it and see if it's something that they'll like before you go spend money on a lot. All right, so what I'm going to do with the meat is I'm going to take a third of the meat, just like I did with the peppers and onions, and put in the small pan. And then 2/3 that's remaining in the big pan. The heat is off of both of the pans, and I just want to warm it. It kind of looks a little yucky in a way, but it smells delicious and tastes delicious. And that really should be all that matters. So I'm going to cover both of these, and what I'll do is just reheat them about 5 minutes before dinner time. And I'll also pop those buttered hoagie buns in the oven and broil them for just a couple of minutes. Set the cheese and the lettuce out, and everybody can just serve themselves buffet style. I hope that you'll be encouraged by this recipe, seeing how easy it is to make, and maybe something new to offer your family for dinner at night. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, please. And as promised, before I go, I want to read you this portion of this psalm that I find so encouraging to me. Psalm 92, and I will begin in verse 12. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. He shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of the Lord shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing, to show that the Lord is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.